And so we are being live streamed. Hello, influential leaders and executives, and welcome to our Tuesday weekly live stream that's called the EQ Leaders Pause. This is a time for you to stop and check in and explore different perspectives, because as leaders, we are go, go, go. There's so much to do. We're so busy. We're making decisions constantly. And if we don't stop and check ourselves, if we don't stop and check in and check into, and expand our perspectives, we could be falling in traps, biases, different things that lead to more of the same. So if we want to step out, step into something different, different approaches, get different results, this is the live stream for you. And I want to welcome today Maureen McIntosh, who is a special guest joining me. So I'm just going to take a moment to introduce myself real quickly, just in case you're new to me, and introduce Maureen. And I guess I'll let her introduce herself. So my name's Melissa. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant. And what I do is I work with leaders such as yourself who want to have an impact and make a difference. And I do this by helping them build influence and focus on people first. So bring in people, get people's buy-in, and get them aligned with the direction that you are going in, so that you get more people on your side, you can move faster together, and you can have fun in the process. So that is what I do. Maureen is my mentor, my teacher, and my friend. I've had the pleasure to learn from her, and I work with her. So she is a senior faculty member with WGI, and what that means is she teaches choice theory, reality therapy, and lead management. She's also a seasoned coach and counselor. So Maureen, tell us a little bit about what you do.
That's a big ask, Melissa.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay. You left out the part that I was a nurse first, which probably led me into these other things. And when you think about today's world, but seriously, what I do now is mostly focused on the choice theory, reality therapy, lead management training, and I have a few coaching clients. So I'm at a stage in my life where I'm working on bringing people like yourself to the level of senior instructor within the William Glasser Institute, and helping as many as I can in whatever field that they're working in. So yeah, I'm not going to say a whole lot. You can ask me questions as we go.
I'm very appreciative for the work that you do, and it is really a blessing and an honor that I get to work with you. And when I learned of you being right here in the Moncton area, I was like, what? We have these resources here and we don't even know about it. So it's been an honor to do that. And now that we are online, so, a blessing of the pandemic is being online and being more accessible and making these ideas, these concepts, these communication processes accessible to leaders. So when we talk about reality therapy and choice theory, this is for leaders who want to lead their teams and their employees, but this is also for teachers in the classroom. This is for parenting. You can use this communication in many different ways. So as I'm speaking about it, of course, I'm coming from that lens of leadership because that's a space that I work in, but I use it in every area of my life.
Well, truthfully, I started out using the ideas many, many years ago, working with youth. I needed some skills to deal with the youth that I was seeing on a regular basis in the sexual health center. Okay, they had a lot of problems, and everything I did was very much relationship focused and continues to be. So I guess if I think about it broadly that way, or bring it down to a niche, it's probably relationship focused. Over the years, I've learned so much, including my own relationship issues. I like to call myself a recovering bee with an itch in it. You know what I mean? So.
Well, there is
Lots of fun.
an obstacle to relationship, and it's called, it's a C word, control.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's right.
and I guess
Yeah, it's
this
very
kind.
interesting. If we want other people to do for us, if we think that's going to make us happy, we need to think again, right?
So in my world, I teach leaders to let go of control.
Yeah.
And to share power.
Yeah.
And the topic today is feedback. So we're going to talk about feedback from that lens of internal control and empowering others. And feedback comes with a lot of not so great feelings. We fear it, we avoid it, we feel uncomfortable with it, we don't know how to deliver it, we don't know how to receive it sometimes. Feedback is hard for the person giving it and the person receiving it. So why is feedback so hard is my first question, the question that I would want to put on the floor. And by the way, if you are listening right now, go ahead and drop in the comments your thoughts on why feedback is so hard. Maureen, what do you think about that?
Melissa, it's very interesting. People fear feedback because they don't want to be perceived as doing something wrong. It's their self-worth, their self-esteem that's on the line. And as you were saying that, a thought occurred to me. I've been a member of Toastmasters for a long, long time, and we practice giving effective feedback. And just to see somebody deliver a speech, and this is just an example for folks out there, to see somebody deliver a speech and sit there and be shaking in their boots for fear of the feedback they're going to get. What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? And then when they receive feedback that is effective, points to grow on, and how much they're appreciated for what they've done, it brings in a whole new light. So that's just a little example, but people do fear feedback, and your children fear feedback. Everybody fears feedback.
Yeah.
So.
And giving feedback, you talked about that identity, but if my identity is anchored in I'm a good person and I'm helpful, and all of a sudden I have to deliver information that that's going to affect another human being in maybe not such a positive way, that's in conflict with how I see myself. And if I like to keep the peace and it could create conflicts, that's another piece.
And that then comes down to a kind of a different kind of leadership. It's placating, it's saving your own skin kind of thing. But really, to be effective, if we skim over the truths or skim over the issues, then who are we hurting really? We're hurting both the person that you want to give feedback to and yourself. So now there's two people being hurt. And really, it doesn't have to be hurtful based on the way that you frame the feedback. You take the personal out of it.
So one thing that was helpful for me is to understand, what is feedback and what it's meant to do. And in my own, my own words, I would say that it's information that is meant to help another person understand the context better, or information that can help them make better choices, better decisions.
Yeah. It depends. Like, I agree with you, Melissa. Feedback is a very necessary part of the business world. You have employees, you're the owner or the employer, and you have employees that maybe are not working just exactly the way you want them to. If you have procedures in place or job descriptions in place, it makes giving feedback a whole lot easier. And what needs to happen is we need to ask the question, what is it that you want that you're not getting by doing this? and this is what you were asked to do. So where's the disconnect? Because as your employer, I need to understand where you're coming from. And I'd like to have an open and honest conversation.
And that is beautiful, because we have a bias that we think others know what we know. So it's obvious to us, why are they doing that? And yet they don't know what we know. There's something beautiful about going to explore, what do they know and what information are they missing? That gives you that opportunity to add that information. It changes the game, if you will, changes the conversation. So to me, it's very much about adding information, helping them connect the dots.
For sure.
Is there a way to give feedback in a way that's going to be well received? That's my second question that I want to throw on the table, or my third one, I guess. So is there truly a way to do it in a way that people will receive it well? Because we are afraid of the reaction. We don't know if they react, what's going to happen. They might get mad, they might flip their lid, they might quit, they might disengage. So there's a lot of fear. And is there a way to do it without these things happening?
If only we could control the other person, that would be beautiful.
Wouldn't it? That C word again.
Yeah. But we can honor ourselves by being the person we want to be. And if we have something that's really important that we need to give to another, then it's better to talk about from the perspective of yourself. So first, this is what I saw, heard, felt, whatever. Okay. Help me understand. Is what I'm perceiving accurate? Because I need to clear this up. You know, it's about me. And so you have the issue. Now they may say something, yeah, well, you wanted this and I don't think it's right, blah, 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 blah. You can't help that, right? But you can keep asking questions to get clarity. And I've seen people using the process of effective feedback. You also need to use self-evaluation, right? You have to ask them to evaluate their own behavior. And you can't do that until you've kind of got a relationship going, because if you ask them to evaluate their behavior before there's a relationship there, then they are going to fly off the handle.
Yeah.
You know, so it really is a complex process in many ways. But I think if you can have just a regular conversation, Melissa, you wanted me to speak today. I perceive that you're upset with something that I'm doing or saying. Okay. Help me understand, what is it that you really want from me? Okay, something like that. Or vice versa, you're upset with me. Or, hey, what you did was fabulous. Tell me more. How can I improve it across the company? That's feedback as well. Effective feedback is really important in the positive. And we don't want people working to their weaknesses, do we? We want them working to their strengths. So if we can find that balance.
And we can spend a whole lot of time and effort in improving weaknesses, but it takes a lot more effort to improve than maximize on what's good. Mm-hmm. So obviously, you know, and feedback is important. Without feedback, we're dead in the water. We don't know.
Yeah, and it's through the conversations that change happens. Okay, I can remember many years ago working in public health. Glad I'm not there now, but many years ago working in public health, we did work plans annually. And then we had meetings with our managers to review the work plan, 6 months, I think, and in a year. And we did sort of a self-evaluation process. Yes, I've done this, this, and this, but the manager may have said, well, you think you did this, but this is what I'm perceiving. I see that this is missing. Well, it may have been out of my awareness altogether. Thank you for that. I can correct that really fast. Do you know what I mean? So if we never have that conversation, nothing's going to improve.
And it's definitely both ways.
Yes.
I had a conversation the other day, and I have a few examples here floating in my head. So performance review, let's say I'm going in, I'm perceiving the employees wasting time. There might be something, so I'm going in with this, like, this is what I'm seeing and this is what's happening, and you have to change that. That's my evaluation based on the information I have, but there's more often than not information that I don't have. So going in with this preconceived evaluation of the person can get in my way, whereas I can say, hey, I'm concerned about XYZ. Tell me more about how that's going for you.
Who's the expert in their job, right?
And I might hear that, hey, there's problems going on that I don't know about. There's added work because that I don't know about. There's extra time put in. Maybe we're giving up some lunch times to make up for it. I would not know until I ask. And that is, making a statement about facts versus making a statement of a preconceived evaluation. Very different types of statements to be making. And I witnessed this in practicum this morning. So I'm a practicum supervisor, and we were doing role plays, and that was beautifully demonstrated by one of the students. And that was a real turning point in the role play. He said, accountability is da 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 da. What do you think about that? So he made a statement about what this meant, then asked the question.
Beautiful.
And you could see the turning point. He did it 2 or 3 times during the role play. And every time he did it, it was such a beautiful thing. So he added factual information, asked a question. There was no evaluation. And the person was able to self-evaluate through the process. Yeah. The person playing the client. And that's effective feedback.
Imagine that in the school classroom.
So give me an example. Paint me a picture here. I haven't been in the classroom for a very long time.
Well, me either, but and maybe this is off track a little bit, but I saw in the newspaper the other day a call to bring back standardized tests. Okay. And that's one way of getting feedback on how well the kids are doing in the province. Okay. But it really isn't, because all it does is tell us what they know on that day, if they feel like answering questions, And so if we're able to work directly with the student and ask them to self-evaluate their work and ask them for feedback as well about what they need to learn and what they want to learn, and again, permit them to work to their strengths, what a different world it would be. Just a thought come off the top of my head just now.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we want our employees to be working towards their best self.
Yeah.
I just had something, and that was the example I was about to use, but it was about my son. And my son's a little bit behind and has some challenges, and he started a sport. And I got a call saying, hey, he's 3, he's not measuring up to our expectations. You need to be more effective as a parent. So there was some assumptions about my parenting. There was an assumptions about we were just running wild and doing whatever, not really understanding the situation. But there was this, like, here's where other 3-year-olds are, and there's a big gap and he's not measuring up. But if I look at my son, the individual, every week he's had such big improvements through the process. So I was seeing it as wins. He was getting better and we were achieving something. We had something to celebrate every week. But what I got was, here's the bar. You're not measuring up. Fail.
Yeah.
You're out of the program.
Wow.
And that was, I negotiated my way in, staying in the program, but as the receiver of the feedback in that instance, that was not a good experience.
Not well done.
No. it was an important conversation that could have gone differently had I been
How would you,
asked.
yeah, how
Yes.
would you have
So
liked it?
I've thought about it. I spent a lot of time because my scales were tipped. I was very frustrated in the beginning. I think I handled it well in the moment. I hung up and then I was like, so I would have liked to been, here's what we're observing. Here's what I've been told. What's going on for you?
Mhm.
Are you aware of XYZ policy? Then I would have self-evaluated, you know what, we are not meeting those policies.
Mhm.
What can we do together? And there could have been more of a
Yeah.
collaborative planning process instead of this, you defend yourself and then prove to me that you can stay in the program.
Yeah.
Which was, a very different experience.
It is very different and difficult because it affects the core, right? It affects the individual, the parent or the person or whoever it is, the child, whoever it is getting that feedback. And we make assumptions as people. We make assumptions about other people, and we take in information, we process it, we attach our perception to it, and then we live as if it's true without even talking to the other person. So, and that goes for relationships as well, one-on-one, husbands, wives, partners, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, we live according to what we know. And we do the best we can at the time, but it's not always the most effective way. And if more people could learn these ideas, I think, and I'm encouraged because I think a lot of people have learned the ideas. There's a lot of people around us using these ideas, and more, especially since the last 2 years of the pandemic. There's a necessity to learn these ideas, and they're being used more and more effectively because people have discovered that the world has opened up to them in terms of choices. So
yeah, and the pandemic brought a unique challenge of the realization we have lack of control, and yet there are so many things that we do have control over, which is ourselves and our choices, the things that we want, our behavior, our thinking. There's so much we can control, and we can create a life worth living if we want to step into it.
Yeah.
So if you are that person, so if you've been listening to this and you want to know more, if you're thinking, interesting, I need to learn more about these ideas, or 2, I want more control over my life and to create a life that I enjoy living. Maybe you have employees and you want to create those relationships that actually lead to you influencing and leading them with a very specific communication process. So here's the beauty of reality therapy. It's a communication process. It takes the guesswork out of it, and you can have these conversations and get people where you're going without having to evaluate them, without having to tell them anything bad. There was one instance, and I know we're wrapping up here, but I want to share this. I had a client who was a business owner struggling with an employee, was needing to have a conversation and give her feedback, but reluctant to. Can't do it. It'll be perceived wrong. She's not going to get it. I can't do it. So I went in. I said, how about I go in? I'll have the conversation for you. Would that be helpful? So I went in, had the conversation with the employee, and then my client called. And she said, I listened in at the door, and I can't believe that you told her everything that I wanted to tell her. And she came out of this meeting excited. She started making things happen. The change started happening immediately, and she was excited to work with you. How can this be? Well, this can be. This is what I do every day. This is possible for you. So if you've been struggling with conversations, if you've been avoiding conversations, you need to learn about these processes. So choice theory, reality therapy, lead management. You have a senior instructor right here on the call, and I think you have some trainings coming up. So what you do is you work with an instructor, and then you work with a practicum supervisor such as myself to practice the skills as you go through the learning process. So Maureen, the next dates you have for basic training?
Right now I have one set up to start July 19th, 4 hours a week over 6 weeks, plus one if we need it. Because it's very interactive and enjoyable, I might say. We have a lot of fun. And and if that one, you know, hopefully it will go, but if not, I certainly will be having more in the fall and
Good.
contemplating others. So they can find that information on glassercanada.ca, under events. Those things are posted there.
Perfect.
So.
And if you want a shortcut to that, you just drop a comment below, say, I want choice theory, and I will connect with you and make sure to get you the information you need, one, and to help you get you registered and get you on your way so that you can work with Maureen, and you can choose to work with myself, but we would love to have you on board for this upcoming training. So thank you so much, Maureen, for joining me today and participating in this conversation. I love these things. I've been basically practicing all day these ideas.
I just want to thank you too, Melissa, for getting me on my first Facebook Live.
First live. So if you're watching this, say congratulations, Maureen, for stepping out of your comfort zone and getting on a live. This was absolutely wonderful, and I want to bring a lot more. So we had Lisa Latorsai that came a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the caring and connecting and deadly habits for relationships. So we just talked about the importance of the relationship. Before you can start asking those self-evaluation questions and really get into these conversations successfully, you need that relationship. Well, this is a good video to go check out. They're all under the guide section. So if you go, I think it's somewhere on the top here, there's guides, and I'm placing all the videos there so you can go back and watch them. So thank you so much for joining. Leave us a comment about what was important to you, which piece you liked, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.